Merian woke up to a zombie tapping on the window. Tink, tink, tink. She knew the sound well, the clack of bone on glass followed by a wheezy moan. Grumbling, Merian tried to go back to sleep. Tink, tink, tink. Go away! Merian rolled over and opened the curtains, letting in the sunrise and a zombie's stare. The zombie had one cloudy blue eye, while the other was just an empty socket. Its jaw flopped open, showing a row of broken yellow teeth, before snapping shut again. It was a great specimen, Merian had to admit, but her bed was warm and comfy. She snuggled back down under the covers. Maybe if she ignored it, it'd go away. "Merian, can you deal with that, please?" Ugh. Sighing, Merian sat up. Zombies normally gave up after a few hours. The same couldn't be said of her mum. Rubbing her eyes, she clambered down from her bunk and put her glasses on. The cabin where she lived with her mother was tiny but cozy, crammed to the ceiling with all the equipment needed to be Dr. Gwen Hope, top scientist in the highly specialized field of deathflies. In the middle of the room was a work table, covered in pages of scribbled notes. Shelves full of sample jars took up an entire wall, while the opposite held a huge map of the forest, bristling with coloured pins that marked the zombie movement patterns. A rack of catch poles stood by the door, along with an axe, a machete, and a couple of stun guns. Soft dawn light peeked through the window. "Is there only one, Mum?" Merian asked as she pulled on her overalls. Long sleeves, trouser legs tucked into socks, no exposed skin. "I think so." Gwen was at the table, squinting at her notes. Her short black hair, cut in a bob just like Merian's, no long hair, nothing they can grab, was sticking up in messy points. Dark circles framed her eyes. She looked about as lively as the shambling dead outside. Tink, tink, tink. The zombie snapped at the window, trying to bite through the glass. Its crusted lips left a greasy smudge. Merian wrinkled her nose. She'd be cleaning that later. "Can you take care of it?" Gwen nodded at the window. "I'd go myself, but—" "No direct contact with the dead on less than 6 hours sleep," Merian finished. That was rule 3. "No problem, I can deal with 1 easy." She carried on running through the checklist in her head as she got ready. Glasses clean and on, stout boots, gloves, cat. Where were the cats? Merian looked around the cabin. Ollie was almost invisible under the lower bunk, just 2 green eyes staring out from the shadows. But Jack was sitting bolt upright on a chair, his tail swishing as he glared at the zombie. His eyes were back, and his usual purr had turned into a grumbling growl, a typical reaction for a cat when there was a zombie in sight. "Jack!" Merian patted her shoulder. "Jack, up!" With a prut, Jack jumped onto her shoulder and wound his tail around her neck like a scarf. Merian went to the door, taking one of the catch poles from the rack as she passed. "Back in a minute," she said as she stepped outside.